Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Janice Lo. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Rain fails to dampen spirits as people flock to cemeteries for grave-sweeping rituals. Donald Trump hits out after pleading not guilty to 34 criminal charges. And Israeli police storm Al-Aqsa mosque in Jerusalem and arrest 400 Palestinians. Tens of thousands of people have flocked to cemeteries across the city to pay tribute to their ancestors on the first Qingming festival after the city returned to normal. Many were happy that they could go in larger family groups for the first time in 3 years. Umbrellas were in big demand as people braved the rain to flock to the Chinese permanent cemetery in Taiwan to observe the first Qingming festival without any COVID curbs. Those who went to sweep the final resting places of their ancestors brought along offerings, some of which were very heavy. Many were glad that there are no more social distancing measures to limit the number of people per group. This woman and 9 relatives went to the cemetery. It gives us an opportunity to gather together as we rarely do so, she said, adding that they will have yum cha after leaving the cemetery. COVID had suspended the annual tomb sweeping in past years. This woman couldn't pay respects to her ancestors last year. That was because of social distancing rules, and the pandemic was very severe, she said. This man, who returned from Britain for Qingming and Easter, said 3 generations of his family went to the cemetery. New World First Bus put on 2 special services to the cemetery, but almost every bus was packed. Many decided to go on foot instead, despite having to walk up a steep slope. The police cordoned off part of Cape Collinson Road to make it easier for people to leave the cemetery. In Tuen Mun, there were long lines for buses to the cemetery in Chang Chow. Staff were on hand to ensure a smooth flow of passengers taking the MTR-operated buses. The Education Bureau has been criticized for not allowing a school on Chang Chow to run a Primary 1 class because it is short of 1 pupil. Under current arrangements, there must be at least 16 students in a class. But Kam Kong School received only 15 applications for places in the next academic year and might be forced to shut within a few years. Education sector lawmaker Chu Kwok-keung described the arrangement as ridiculous, saying there are ways to overcome the problem, such as accepting a student from another school. He said the school is considering whether to undergo a special review to keep operating or run Primary 1 classes privately. The Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association is pointing the finger at the city's top sports body for a national anthem fiasco. The ice hockey group has been given 1 month to provide a full explanation or face suspension. Chloe Feng reports.
Hong Kong Ice Hockey Association Chairman Kang Yun-kit says his group has been handling the national anthem blunder in a dignified manner in line with the guidelines of the Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, China. A protest song instead of the national anthem was played in February during a tournament in Bosnia. Kang said his group had prepared the USB containing the national anthem and the Hong Kong flag. They made immediate and continuous efforts to meet the organizer to deliver the items and check the national anthem. But the organizer didn't respond. The organizer later apologized to the Chinese embassy, and the apology was accepted. The ice hockey group said the Sports Federation wrote to various national sports associations in December to instruct their affiliated bodies to download the national anthem via certain links. The organizer in Bosnia therefore believed it had already downloaded Hong Kong's anthem and so didn't meet the ice hockey group to collect the USB and check the anthem. Can said the downloading links were sent by the Sports Federation and not the Ice Hockey Association. That, it said, was the first flashpoint why the wrong song was played. Can pledged to fully cooperate with the city's top sports body and will submit a full written explanation over its failure to follow relevant guidelines and a plan to improve governance within a month. Lawmaker Kenneth Fogg, meanwhile, has denied that he is resigning as honorary president of the ice hockey group, but admitted that it has governance problems. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Overseas, former President Donald Trump has described the United States as a nation in decline after pleading not guilty to 34 criminal charges. Returning to Florida after a court hearing in New York, Trump also denounced the case as an insult to the U.S. Azam Khan reports.
Tight security was in force outside the courthouse in Manhattan, where Donald Trump arrived in a motorcade. People across the street tried to catch a glimpse of the first U.S. president, sitting or former, to face arrest. The 76-year-old was stone-faced as he entered the courtroom. He pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records, a crime punishable with prison in New York. The allegations involved 3 separate payments, 2 to 2 women who claimed they had an extramarital affair with him, and the third to a doorman who alleged that Trump fathered a child out of wedlock. The payments, the Attorney General said, were made to influence the 2016 presidential election.
It's not just about one payment. It is 34 business records, 34 false statements in business records that were concealing criminal conduct.
After the arraignment, Trump, who is running in next year's race to the White House, immediately flew back to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. There, accompanied by his family and supporters, he denounced several people.
Beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately.
The former president also took aim at the judge and prosecutor Bragg's family.
I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family whose daughter worked for Kamala Harris and now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign, and a lot of it. Incredibly, we are now a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement.
Trump's team will have until August to file any motions against the case. The next court hearing is set for December. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
Tensions are rising in Jerusalem, with the Arab League condemning Israeli forces for raiding the Al-Aqsa mosque. Israeli police stormed the mosque in a violent dawn raid in occupied East Jerusalem. They arrested at least 400 Palestinians who were praying in the mosque. Heavily armed officers were accused of injuring at least 14 Palestinians. There was an angry reaction from Palestinians when an Israeli bus rammed into the back of a Palestinian car. The Israelis later attacked what is said were military positions in the Gaza Strip after rockets were fired into Israel in retaliation for the raid on the Al-Aqsa mosque. French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived in Beijing on a state visit aimed at boosting trade and improving ties. He's expected to meet President Xi Jinping, and also their discussion will also focus on the Ukraine conflict. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen will also join Macron for the trip, a sign that the ripple effect of the visit will spread beyond France to the entire European Union. In recent weeks, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, European Council President Charles Michel, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez all visited Beijing. They expressed hopes of improving relations between China and the EU. Locally again, many people are taking advantage of the public holidays this week and next to go on holiday. Even though tickets are more expensive, they looked forward to a change after 3 years of COVID. Chloe Feng reports.
People who applied for a day off tomorrow are enjoying a 6-day break beginning today. Together with the Qingming and Easter holidays, it is the first long vacation since the border reopened fully. Many grabbed the opportunity to travel, and the airport was a hive of activity as early as 7 a.m. Some holidaymakers said even if tickets cost double or triple from pre-COVID times, it is still worthwhile, as traveling during public holidays means they can retain a portion of their annual leave. Among those departing were 16 members of a swimming club who plan to train in Taiwan for a week. The group leader says at about $9,000 a person, the cost is similar to that before the pandemic, as they had booked ahead of Hong Kong's reopening to the world. Otherwise, they would have had to pay 30% more. West Kowloon Station was also busy with long lines at the gate. This woman is returning to her hometown on the mainland for the first time in 3 years. She was concerned that it may take a while for her whole family to cross the border. At the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, a notice warned travelers that it would take at least 1 hour to cross the border to go to Macau. The Immigration Department predicted that over 9 million people will pass through the city's various border control points in the first 10 days of April. Friday is expected to be the busiest day for land crossings. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Rival groups have greeted Taiwan's leader on her arrival in Los Angeles, where she will meet U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy later tonight. Tsai Ing-wen's supporters gave her a warm welcome as she arrived at her hotel. But pro-Beijing demonstrators denounced her visit and chanted "One China." She's on her way back to Taiwan after touring Central America. McCarthy's confirmation of talks with Tsai has outraged China, which warned of serious consequences. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with some showers and isolated thunderstorms later. Temperatures will range between 22 and 26 degrees. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Janice Lo. Good night.